Before we embark on this enlightening journey through the life and teachings of Confucius, let us take a moment to set the stage for what lies ahead. This ebook, brought to you by WooEnglish, is designed to be an accessible and engaging guide to understanding one of history's greatest philosophers. As you turn these pages, you'll be introduced to the profound insights and timeless wisdom of Confucius, a wisdom that has shaped cultures and inspired individuals for centuries. At WooEnglish, we believe in the power of learning through stories. Each chapter of this ebook has been carefully crafted not just to inform, but to inspire, reflecting our commitment to helping you learn and grow. As you proceed to Chapter 1, prepare to embark on a journey that goes beyond mere words, a journey that will take you to the very heart of ethical living and moral thought. Welcome to a world of wisdom, and may your journey be as enlightening as it is enjoyable. Chapter 1. The Dawn of Wisdom. In the ancient land of China, over 2,500 years ago, a child was born in the state of Lu. His name was Confucius, and this is the story of his early years, a time that set the stage for a wisdom that would resonate through the ages. Confucius came from a simple family. His father was a warrior of great strength and honor, but they were not rich or powerful. From a very young age, Confucius showed a deep love for learning. While other children played, he often spent his time thinking and questioning the world around him. The state of Lu was full of beauty and tradition. The people lived by rules passed down from their ancestors. Confucius grew up respecting these traditions, but he also saw that the world was changing. He noticed that not everyone was treated fairly, and that sometimes the rules did not make sense. This bothered him. He believed that there must be a better way to live together, a way that was fair and kind to all. As Confucius grew, so did his desire for knowledge. He listened to the ancient stories of wise men and women. He learned about the history of his people and the teachings of great thinkers. But he didn't just learn. He asked questions. Why do we do things this way? What is the right way to act? How can we live a good life? These questions were the seeds of his future teachings. Confucius didn't have many books, for they were rare and precious in those times. So he learned from the world around him. He watched how people behaved in their daily lives, in the markets, in the fields, and in the courts of rulers. He observed nature, the way the seasons changed, and how plants and animals lived in harmony. From these observations, he began to form his own ideas about how people should live together, in peace and respect. One of the most important things Confucius learned was the value of respect and care for one's family. He saw that when families were happy and respectful to one another, the whole community was stronger and more peaceful. This became a central part of his teachings, known as filial piety, the respect for one's parents and ancestors. Another idea that Confucius began to develop was the importance of education. He believed that learning was not just for the rich or the powerful, but that everyone should have the chance to learn and grow. He often said, "Is it not a pleasure to learn and to repeat at due times what one has learned?" But Confucius's early years were not all easy. There were hardships and losses. His family didn't always have enough to eat, and they sometimes faced great difficulties. Yet these challenges only made Confucius more determined to find a way to make the world a better place. As Confucius became a young man, he started to work in minor government roles. He watched and learned how the state was run. He saw the good and the bad, the just and the unjust. He realized that good government and wise leaders were key to a happy and healthy society. This inspired him to think deeply about the qualities of a good leader, ideas that would later become a significant part of his teachings. Throughout his early years, the signs of Confucius's wisdom were clear. He was thoughtful, compassionate, and eager to learn. He sought to understand the world, not just to live in it. This was just the beginning, the dawn of wisdom that would grow and spread far beyond the state of Lu. In this chapter, we have walked through the early life of Confucius, a time that shaped the man he would become. From his humble beginnings to his first steps as a teacher and thinker, Confucius's journey is a testament to the power of wisdom and the importance of seeking knowledge. As we close this chapter, think about Confucius's early questions. How can we live a good life? What does it mean to be a fair and just person? These are questions that still matter today, questions that you can think about in your own life. And so, the story of Confucius begins with a young boy full of curiosity and a world full of lessons to be learned. What will the next chapter bring? Join us as the journey continues and the wisdom of Confucius unfolds. Chapter 2. In Search of Knowledge. Welcome back to the journey of Confucius, a story of wisdom, learning, and the quest for understanding. In this chapter, we dive into the heart of Confucius's quest for knowledge, exploring the paths he took and the lessons he learned along the way. Confucius's thirst for knowledge was like a fire, burning bright and unquenchable. He believed that to find the truth, one must be willing to learn constantly. He often said, "To learn and from time to time to practice what one has learned, isn't that a pleasure?" But where did Confucius begin his search? In ancient China, there were no schools like we have today. Instead, learning came from studying the past, from listening to stories and teachings of wise men and women, and from observing the world. Confucius started by looking to the past. He studied ancient texts which were filled with stories, songs, and histories of his people. These texts were not just stories, they were keys to understanding the world and how to live in it. As he studied, Confucius focused on the teachings that spoke of virtue, proper behavior, and the moral ways of the ancient rulers. He was particularly drawn to the idea of ren, humanness or benevolence. To Confucius, ren was not just a feeling, but a way of acting towards others with kindness and respect. He began to see this as the foundation for a just and peaceful society. Confucius didn't keep his learning to himself. He discussed and debated with other scholars. They talked about everything from the stars in the sky to the smallest plant on the earth. They debated the right way to govern and how people should live together. Through these discussions, Confucius started to develop his own ideas and philosophy. He began to see that learning wasn't just about knowing facts, it was about understanding how to live well. One of the most important concepts Confucius studied was the Tao, or the way. This was not a path one could walk on, but a way of describing the right path in life. For Confucius, finding the Tao meant understanding the proper way to behave, to govern, and to treat others. It was about finding harmony in oneself and the world. But understanding the Tao was not easy. It required not only knowledge, but also self-reflection and self-improvement. Confucius spent much of his time practicing rituals and music, which he believed helped to cultivate virtue and character. He said, "Music produces a kind of pleasure which human nature cannot do without." To him, music and ritual were not just cultural practices, but ways to elevate one's moral character and find harmony. As Confucius's understanding grew, so did his reputation. People started to seek him out, wanting to learn from his wisdom. He welcomed them, believing that education should be available to all, not just the rich or noble. He taught anyone who wanted to learn, regardless of their social status. Yet Confucius's quest for knowledge was never easy. He faced many challenges and doubts. There were times when the path seemed too difficult and the truth too far away. But he never gave up. He believed that it does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. This perseverance, the willingness to keep seeking and learning, was one of his greatest lessons. In this chapter, we have followed Confucius on his quest for knowledge. We've seen how he looked to the past to understand the present, how he engaged with others to develop his ideas, and how he believed in the power of learning to transform not just individuals, but society as well. His journey shows us that the search for knowledge is not just about finding answers, but about continually growing and seeking a better way to live. As we close this chapter, think about your own quest for knowledge. What are you curious about? What do you want to understand better? Remember, like Confucius, the journey of learning is endless, and the joy of discovery is one of life's greatest pleasures. Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the life and teachings of Confucius, a journey that takes us into the heart of his wisdom and how he began to share it with the world. Chapter 3. The Making of a Teacher. As we continue the story of Confucius, we arrive at a pivotal moment in his life. After years of seeking and learning, Confucius began a new journey, not just as a student, but as a teacher. This chapter unfolds the tale of how Confucius stepped into the role that would define his legacy and change the world. Confucius once said, "In teaching, there are no kinds of knowledge that are out of reach." This belief in the power of education was at the heart of his transition from student to teacher. He didn't see himself as a master with all the answers, but as a guide, helping others to find their path to wisdom. But how did this transformation occur? It began simply. Confucius started to share his thoughts and ideas with others in his community. He talked about the virtues of benevolence, righteousness, and respect. He spoke of the importance of family and the need for ethical leadership. His words were not just theories, they were practical lessons on how to live a good and honorable life. The people of Lu had never heard anyone speak like Confucius. His words touched their hearts and minds. They saw in him not just knowledge, but a way to a better life. Slowly, one by one, people began to gather around him, eager to learn and follow his teachings. These first followers were the beginning of what would become a large group of disciples, students who would carry his teachings across China and beyond. Confucius welcomed everyone who wished to learn, regardless of their background or status. He believed that a true teacher does not discriminate, but offers guidance to all. His followers included young men from noble families, ambitious scholars, and even those of humble origin who had never had the chance to learn. For Confucius, what mattered was not a person's background, but their desire to learn and improve themselves. As more people came to learn from Confucius, he began to formalize his teachings. He taught not just through words, but through rituals and music, showing his students how these practices could cultivate virtue and harmony. He encouraged them to ask questions and debate, believing that understanding comes from active engagement and reflection. Confucius's teaching style was unique. He didn't give his students all the answers. Instead, he led them to discover the truth for themselves. He often used stories and parables, simple tales that held deep wisdom. He asked probing questions, challenging his students to think deeply about their actions and beliefs. This way, his students didn't just learn knowledge, they learned how to think and how to live. But being a teacher was not always easy. Confucius faced many challenges. Some people were skeptical of his ideas. They questioned his lack of wealth and power, wondering why they should listen to a man who was just a humble teacher. Others were threatened by his teachings, fearing the change they might bring. Yet, despite these challenges, Confucius never wavered in his mission. He believed in the power of education and the importance of virtue. He once said, "Is it not a joy to have friends come from distant quarters?" His students were more than just learners. They were his friends, his companions on the journey of discovery. Over time, Confucius's reputation grew. His followers spread his teachings, and his wisdom began to influence not just individuals, but the very fabric of society. He became known not just as a wise man, but as a symbol of knowledge and ethical living. In this chapter, we have witnessed the making of a teacher, the transformation of Confucius from a seeker of wisdom to a giver of guidance. We've seen how his passion for learning and his commitment to teaching attracted followers and laid the foundation for a philosophy that would endure for centuries. As we close this chapter, reflect on the lessons of Confucius, the importance of education, and the value of a good teacher. Think about the teachers in your own life, those who have guided and inspired you. And remember, like Confucius, we all have something to teach and something to learn. Join us in the next chapter as we explore the heart of Confucius's teachings, the principles and ideas that shaped his philosophy and continue to guide millions around the world. Chapter 4. The Heart of the Teachings. Welcome back to our journey through the life and wisdom of Confucius. In this chapter, we delve into the heart of his teachings, exploring the core principles that define Confucianism. These ideas are not just ancient philosophies, they are lessons on how to live a life of virtue and harmony. The first and perhaps most important principle is Ren, or humanness. Confucius believed that at the core of a well-lived life was kindness and compassion towards others. Ren is more than just a feeling, it's an action. It's how you treat your family, your friends, and even strangers. It's about putting the well-being of others before your own, showing empathy, and acting with care. Confucius taught that a person with Ren is like an ideal friend, always there to support, always ready to help, and always acting with a good heart. Next is Lai, often translated as ritual propriety or proper conduct. At first glance, Lai might seem about following traditions and rules, but it's much deeper. It's about understanding your role in society and acting in a way that promotes order and harmony. It's about showing respect to others, honoring your ancestors, and carrying out your duties with a sense of integrity. For Confucius, Li was a way to maintain balance in one's life and in society, ensuring that every action contributes to the greater good. Another fundamental principle is xiao, or filial piety. This concept is about the respect and duty one owes to their parents and family. Confucius saw the family as the cornerstone of society. To him, a society that respects family bonds is strong and stable. Xiao is about more than just obeying your parents. It's about caring for them, honoring their memory, and continuing their legacy. It's about understanding the sacrifices they've made and striving to make them proud through your actions and character. Confucius also emphasized the importance of yai, or righteousness. Yai is about doing the right thing, even when it's hard. It's about having a moral compass and sticking to it, not because you want a reward, but because it's the right thing to do. A person with yi is someone you can trust, someone who stands up for what's right and defends the weak and the innocent. Finally, there's zhi, or wisdom. To Confucius, wisdom wasn't just about being smart or knowing a lot. It was about understanding the world and your place in it. It was about seeing the truth and making decisions that lead to harmony and well-being. A wise person knows themselves, understands others, and lives in a way that brings peace and joy to those around them. These principles are not just rules to follow, they are paths to a better life. Confucius taught that by embracing Ren, Li, Xiao, Yi, and Zhi, one could find true happiness and create a society where everyone lives in peace and respect. But Confucius also knew that understanding these principles was not enough. One must live them. He encouraged his students to practice these virtues in their daily lives, to reflect on their actions, and to strive always to be better. He believed that everyone could improve, that everyone had the capacity to live a virtuous life. It was just a matter of commitment and effort. In this chapter, we've explored the heart of Confucius's teachings, the principles that form the foundation of Confucianism. These ideas have influenced millions of people over the centuries, shaping cultures and societies. As we close this chapter, reflect on these principles. How can Ren, Li, Zhao, Yi, and Ji be seen in your life? How can you incorporate them into your daily actions and decisions? Remember, the journey to wisdom and virtue is not a race, it's a lifelong path, one that requires patience, reflection, and a willingness to grow. Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the life and legacy of Confucius, diving deeper into how his teachings spread and the impact they've had on the world. Chapter 5. Life in the Public Sphere. As we continue our exploration into the life of Confucius, we now turn to his role in the public sphere, where his ideas met the complex world of politics and governance. This chapter reveals how Confucius's experiences as a public figure shaped his philosophy and teachings. Confucius lived in a time of great change and conflict. The land was divided into various states, each vying for power and dominance. As a man deeply concerned with morality, order, and proper conduct, Confucius felt a strong calling to step into this chaotic world and make a difference. His journey into the public sphere began modestly. Confucius started his career as a minor official in the state of Lu. His duties were simple at first, dealing with the city's granaries and ensuring the people had enough to eat. But even in this small role, Confucius brought his principles to life. He was fair, honest, and worked hard to improve the lives of the people. As Confucius gained a reputation for his wisdom and integrity, he was promoted to more significant positions. He became known as a man who could be trusted, a man who put the well-being of the people and the moral health of the state above his interests. His dream was to bring peace and order to the land, to create a society where leaders were virtuous and the people lived in harmony. One of Confucius's key ideas was the concept of the junzi, or noble person. He believed that a true leader should be like a junzi, someone who leads by example, who is righteous, ethical, and puts the needs of others first. Confucius's vision was a government led by these noble individuals, where decisions were made for the good of all, not just the few. But the path to this ideal was fraught with challenges. Confucius quickly learned that the world of politics was complicated and often cruel. He saw corruption, greed, and injustice. He met rulers who were more interested in power than in the well-being of their people. These experiences deeply troubled Confucius, but they also strengthened his resolve. They showed him how much the world needed his teachings. Despite these challenges, there were moments of hope. Confucius sometimes found rulers and officials who believed in his ideas. He worked with them to implement reforms, to change how the government worked, and to bring his vision of a moral society to life. These were the moments when Confucius's impact was most clear, when his dream seemed within reach. However, Confucius's journey in the public sphere was not a tale of unbroken success. There were times when he was ignored, ridiculed, or even exiled. His ideas were often ahead of their time, too much for some people to accept. But Confucius never lost faith. He continued to teach, to speak out, and to strive for a better world. Throughout his public life, Confucius remained a teacher at heart. He used his experiences to enrich his teachings, to show his students the complexities of life and the importance of virtue, righteousness, and wisdom. He taught that, to change the world, one must first change oneself, to cultivate one's moral character and live by the principles of Ren, Li, Xiao, Yi, and Ji. In this chapter, we've explored Confucius's life in the public sphere. his efforts to bring his teachings to the world of politics and governance. We've seen the challenges he faced and the impact he had. His experiences show us that the path to a better world is not easy, but it's a journey worth taking. As we close this chapter, reflect on the role of morality and ethics in leadership and governance. Think about how the principles of Confucius might apply to our world today. What can we learn from his vision of a society led by virtue and wisdom? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to walk with Confucius, learning from his wisdom and exploring the legacy he left behind. Chapter 6. Times of Strife. In our journey with Confucius, we have seen him as a seeker of wisdom, a revered teacher, and a participant in the public sphere. Now we enter a period of his life marked by great challenges. This chapter, Times of Strife, explores the difficulties Confucius faced, the political disillusionment, and personal losses that deeply affected him and shaped his teachings. Confucius lived in a time when the established order was breaking down. The great Zhou dynasty, which had once brought unity and peace, was crumbling. Powerful lords ignored the emperor and fought among themselves. This period of chaos, known as the Spring and Autumn period, was a time of moral crisis and social upheaval. It was against this backdrop of strife that Confucius's ideas took shape. One of the greatest challenges Confucius faced was political disillusionment. Despite his deep desire to bring about change and his brief moments of influence, he often found himself sidelined and ignored. Many rulers were more interested in power and wealth than in the moral virtues Confucius preached. They were reluctant to embrace his calls for justice, benevolence, and ethical governance. This rejection was a source of great frustration for Confucius, who saw his noble vision for society ignored by those with the power to enact it. Personal loss also marked this period of Confucius's life. He lost his beloved son and his favorite students. These losses were deeply painful, and they tested his resolve and his commitment to his principles. Yet, through his grief, Confucius found deeper meaning and strength. He turned to his teachings for comfort and guidance, reinforcing his belief in the importance of virtue, the value of perseverance, and the power of human resilience. Despite these trials, or perhaps because of them, Confucius's teachings became more profound. His experiences with hardship enriched his understanding of the human condition. He spoke with greater urgency about the need for ethical leadership and moral courage. He emphasized the importance of enduring hardship with dignity and remaining true to one's principles, even in the face of adversity. Confucius's struggles also made him more empathetic. He understood the suffering of others because he had suffered himself. This empathy made him a more compassionate teacher and a more compelling advocate for his vision of a just and peaceful society. The times of strife that Confucius lived through were not just personal. They were a reflection of the world around him. The constant warfare, the political corruption, and the social disorder he witnessed highlighted the need for a return to moral values and ethical leadership. Confucius believed that the solution to the chaos lay in returning to the virtues of the ancients, to a time when leaders were wise and just, and people lived in harmony. In this chapter, we have seen how the challenges and losses Confucius faced influenced his teachings and deepened his resolve. His life during these times of strife is a testament to the strength of his character and the enduring power of his ideas. As we close this chapter, reflect on the challenges you face in your own life. How do they shape your beliefs and actions? Remember Confucius's example. In times of hardship, we can find strength in our principles and hope in the possibility of a better world. Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the life and wisdom of Confucius, understanding how his teachings spread and the impact they had on the world around him. Chapter 7. The Journeying Sage. Welcome, dear listeners, to another chapter in the life of Confucius, a period marked by wanderings and wisdom. In this chapter, The Journeying Sage, we follow Confucius as he travels far and wide, sharing his teachings and seeking to advise rulers across the land. Confucius had reached a point in his life where the walls of Lu could no longer contain his vision. He felt a profound duty to spread his ideas and help bring order and virtue to a troubled world. So he set out on a long journey, one that would take him through various states, each with its own customs, challenges, and rulers. Imagine Confucius with a small group of loyal disciples traveling on dusty roads, through mountains and valleys, across rivers and plains. They had no luxurious carriages or fine horses. They were humble travelers on a noble mission. Confucius's goal was not just to share his teachings, but to put them into practice, to find rulers who would listen and adopt his ideas of moral governance. The journey was tough and often dangerous. The states were constantly at war, and a traveling scholar could easily be mistaken for a spy or an enemy. But Confucius was not deterred. He believed in the power of his teachings and the importance of his mission. He faced these challenges with the same dignity and resolve that characterized his life. In each state, Confucius sought an audience with its ruler. He offered advice on governance, justice, and morality. He spoke of the importance of benevolent leadership and the need for rulers to set a moral example for their people. His words were wise and his counsel sound, but not all were ready to listen. Some rulers dismissed him, uninterested in the teachings of a wandering philosopher. Others were intrigued, but unwilling to change their ways. There were moments of hope, brief periods when it seemed like Confucius might find a ruler willing to embrace his vision, but these moments were rare and often short-lived. Despite these setbacks, Confucius's journey was not in vain. With every step, he spread his ideas further. People heard his teachings and were moved by them. His disciples who traveled with him learned from his example and became teachers in their own right. Throughout his travels, Confucius continued to teach not just about governance, but about all aspects of life. He taught that virtue and morality should guide every action, from the way rulers govern to the way people treat each other in their everyday lives. His teachings reached people from all walks of life, from powerful lords to humble farmers. The journey of Confucius was also a journey of learning. With every state he visited, he learned about new customs and ways of life. He met with scholars and philosophers, engaging in debates and discussions. These experiences enriched his teachings, making them more diverse and profound. After many years of traveling, Confucius returned to Lu. He was older and had faced many disappointments, but he was not defeated. His journey had reinforced his belief in the power of education and virtue. He continued to teach, write, and hope for a better future. In this chapter, The Journeying Sage, we have followed Confucius on his travels across the land. We've seen his determination to spread his teachings and his unwavering commitment to his principles. His journey was a testament to his belief in the possibility of a better world. As we close this chapter, think about the journeys you undertake in your own life. They may not be as long or as challenging as that of Confucius, but they are important. Each step is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to spread a little wisdom of your own. Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the life and legacy of Confucius, understanding the impact of his teachings and the enduring wisdom that guides us even today. Chapter 8. Disciples and Legacy. Welcome to another chapter in the remarkable story of Confucius. In Disciples and Legacy, we turn our attention to the individuals who were not just students, but torchbearers of his philosophy, those who continued his work and ensured that his teachings would endure through the ages. Confucius, during his lifetime, attracted many followers with his wisdom and virtue. These disciples were not mere students. They were dedicated followers, thinkers, and teachers in their own right. They played a crucial role in spreading Confucianism far and wide, laying the foundations for what would become one of the world's most influential philosophies. Let's introduce some of Confucius's most notable disciples and explore how they carried on his legacy. First, there was Yan Hui, often considered Confucius's favorite disciple. Yan Hui was known for his intelligence and his deep understanding of Confucius's teachings. He was a living embodiment of Ren, or humanness, always striving to live a virtuous and ethical life. Despite his early death, his devotion and understanding of Confucian principles made a lasting impression on Confucius and the other disciples. He set a standard for what it meant to be a true student of Confucius. Next, let's consider Zhengzi. He was another important disciple, known for his dedication to the virtue of xiao, or filial piety. Zhengzi expanded and developed this aspect of Confucius's teachings, emphasizing the importance of respecting and caring for one's parents and ancestors. After Confucius's death, Zhengzi became a key figure in preserving and interpreting his teachings, ensuring that they would be passed down to future generations. Another significant disciple was Zigong, who was noted for his eloquence and practical skills. He was a successful businessman and a diplomat, demonstrating that Confucian principles could be applied not just in personal life, but in the wider world. Zigong spread Confucius's teachings through his travels and interactions, showing how they could be lived out in daily life and governance. Mencius, or Mengzi, though not a direct disciple, was a later follower who became one of the most important interpreters of Confucius's philosophy. He developed and expanded upon Confucius's ideas, particularly the concept of human goodness and the role of righteous government. Mencius traveled widely, advising rulers and teaching, much like Confucius had done. His interpretations and expansions of Confucian thought helped shape the philosophy as we know it today. These disciples and many others were not just passive recipients of Confucius's wisdom. They were active participants in a living tradition, each contributing their unique perspective and understanding. They debated and discussed the teachings, applied them in different contexts, and in doing so, kept the philosophy alive and relevant. The legacy of Confucius's disciples goes beyond just preserving his teachings. They were instrumental in integrating them into the fabric of Chinese society and governance. Through their efforts, Confucianism became not just a personal moral guide, but a public ethic, influencing education, politics, and culture. The impact of Confucius's disciples can still be felt today. Their writings, their interpretations, and their stories continue to inspire and guide people. They showed that Confucius's teachings were not static but dynamic, capable of growth and adaptation. In this chapter, Disciples and Legacy, we have seen how the torch of wisdom is passed from one generation to the next. Confucius's disciples were more than just followers. They were carriers of a legacy that continues to shape the world. As we close this chapter, think about the idea of legacy. What lessons do you learn from others that you hope to pass on? How do you contribute to the living traditions that shape your world? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the enduring wisdom of Confucius and the timeless lessons that he shared with the world. Chapter 9. The Analects. Welcome to the Analects, a chapter where we delve into one of the most significant works in Chinese philosophy and literature. The Analects are not just a book, they are a collection of ideas, conversations and sayings that have carried the wisdom of Confucius across centuries and continents. The Analects, or Lunyu, as they are known in Chinese, are a record of the words and deeds of Confucius and his conversations with his disciples. They were not written by Confucius himself, but were compiled by his followers after his death. Imagine his disciples gathered together, reminiscing about their teacher's wisdom, writing down his sayings to ensure that his teachings would not be lost to the sands of time. The significance of the Analects cannot be overstated. They are the primary source of Confucius's teachings and the cornerstone of Confucianism. Through the Analects, we hear the voice of Confucius, direct and clear, discussing a wide range of topics from morality and ethics to education and governance. The Analects are divided into books or chapters, each a collection of sayings and short dialogues. These passages are not just philosophical musings, they are practical teachings meant to guide one in the art of living. They cover the everyday aspects of life, how to be a good person, how to deal with others, and how to create a harmonious society. One of the reasons the Analects have remained so influential is their accessibility. The teachings are presented as conversations, making them relatable and understandable. Confucius's wisdom is not reserved for the elite or the scholarly. It is for everyone, from the highest ruler to the humblest citizen. The Analects also show the human side of Confucius. We see him as a teacher, a thinker, and at times a critic of the society he lived in. But we also see his humor, his affection for his disciples, and his passion for learning. The Analects bring us closer to Confucius the man, not just Confucius the philosopher. Over the centuries, the Analects have been studied, interpreted, and revered. They have influenced not just Chinese culture, but the broader world, offering insights into the human condition and the pursuit of a good life. They have been a source of inspiration for leaders, scholars, and anyone seeking wisdom and guidance. But the Analects are not just a window into the past, they are a living text, as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They challenge us to think deeply about our actions, our relationships, and our society. They invite us to reflect on what it means to live a good life and to contribute to the world around us. In this chapter, The Analects, we have explored the importance of this timeless work in preserving and sharing Confucius's teachings. We have seen how the words of Confucius, recorded by his disciples, have resonated through the ages, guiding and inspiring countless generations. As we close this chapter, consider the enduring power of wisdom and how the teachings of the past continue to shape our present and our future. Think about the lessons you have learned from Confucius and how they might apply to your own life and your journey. Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the legacy of Confucius, understanding how his teachings have spread and the impact they have had on the world. Chapter 10. Confucianism and Culture. Welcome to Confucianism and Culture, a chapter where we explore the profound and lasting impact of Confucius's teachings on Chinese society, culture, and ethics. Confucianism isn't just a philosophy, it's a way of life that has shaped the heart of a civilization for centuries. Confucianism, with its emphasis on morality, social harmony, and respect for hierarchy, has deeply influenced Chinese culture in various ways. From the family structure to the workings of the government, from educational practices to artistic expressions, the imprint of Confucian ideals can be seen throughout Chinese history. One of the most significant impacts of Confucianism has been on the structure and values of the family. Confucian teachings place great importance on family relationships and the roles and duties of each member. Filial piety, or respect for one's parents and ancestors, is considered a fundamental virtue. This emphasis on familial respect has created a society where family is central and the well-being of the family unit is considered paramount. In the realm of governance and politics, Confucianism has also left an indelible mark. The ideal of the Yunzi, or noble person, who leads by moral example, was aspirational for rulers and officials. The concept that a good government is based on moral virtue and ethical leadership influenced the administration and the legal system, shaping a governance style that valued justice, righteousness, and benevolence. Education is another area where Confucianism's influence is unmistakable. The pursuit of knowledge and the importance of scholarly learning have been central to Chinese culture. The civil service examinations, which were based on Confucian texts, were a pathway to government positions and social mobility for centuries. This system emphasized the value of education and the role of the educated elite in society. Ethically, Confucianism promoted a set of values that emphasized harmony, respect, and proper conduct. Concepts like ren, benevolence, li, propriety, and yi, righteousness, became the moral compass for individuals and society. These principles guided people's behavior and interactions, creating a society where harmony and stability were highly valued. The influence of Confucianism extends beyond the tangible aspects of society and culture. It has also shaped the Chinese way of thinking and viewing the world. The emphasis on balance, order, and harmony in relationships reflects a worldview that sees everything as interconnected and interdependent. However, the influence of Confucianism has not been without its challenges and criticisms. Over the centuries, some have argued that its emphasis on hierarchy and tradition can stifle innovation and individual freedom. Others have praised its focus on social harmony and ethical living. Despite these debates, the impact of Confucianism on Chinese culture and society remains undeniable. In this chapter, Confucianism and Culture, we have journeyed through the vast landscape of Chinese civilization, seeing how the teachings of Confucius have woven through the fabric of history, shaping ethics, governance, family life, education, and much more. As we close this chapter, reflect on the lasting impact of ideas and beliefs. How do the values and philosophies of the past continue to shape our present? How does the culture you live in influence your way of thinking and living? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the legacy of Confucius, understanding how his teachings have spread beyond China and influenced the world. Chapter 11. Critics and Controversies. Welcome to Critics and Controversies, a chapter where we delve into the debates and discussions that have surrounded Confucian thought over the centuries. No philosophy, no matter how influential, is without its critics and controversies, and Confucianism is no exception. Confucianism, with its long history and deep impact, has faced various criticisms and challenges. These critiques have come from within China as well as from other parts of the world, and they have touched upon various aspects of Confucian thought and practice. One of the primary criticisms of Confucianism has been its emphasis on hierarchy and rigid social roles. Critics argue that this can lead to a society that is too focused on order and tradition, stifling individual freedom and creativity. They claim that the Confucian emphasis on obedience and filial piety can create an environment where questioning and innovation are discouraged. Another point of contention has been the role of women in Confucian society. Critics point out that Confucian texts often place women in a subordinate position to men, emphasizing their role as obedient daughters, wives, and mothers. This, they argue, has contributed to the historical marginalization of women in Chinese society and has limited their opportunities for social and personal growth. Confucianism has also faced challenges in the political realm. Some have criticized its idea of benevolent governance, arguing that it can lead to paternalism, where rulers make decisions for the people without their input or consent. Others have pointed out that the Confucian emphasis on harmony and stability can be used to justify authoritarian rule and suppress dissent. In more recent times, as China has interacted more with the Western world, Confucianism has been critiqued through the lens of Western philosophy and values. Some see it as incompatible with modern democratic ideals and human rights. They argue that its focus on collective harmony should not come at the expense of individual rights and freedoms. Despite these criticisms, Confucianism has also been defended and reinterpreted over the centuries. Its advocates argue that Confucian values of respect, duty, and harmony are universal and can contribute positively to modern society. They suggest that Confucianism is not about blind obedience but about finding one's moral compass and living a life of virtue and ethical responsibility. In the 20th century, there was a movement known as the New Confucianism, which sought to reinterpret Confucian ideas in the context of contemporary issues and challenges. New Confucians have tried to address some of the criticisms by emphasizing aspects of Confucian thought that promote individual moral development and social justice. The debate over Confucianism is not just an academic one. It has real implications for how societies understand themselves and how they navigate the challenges of the modern world. The discussions and controversies over Confucian thought reflect the dynamic and evolving nature of philosophy itself. In this chapter, Critics and Controversies, we have explored some of the challenges and debates that have surrounded Confucianism throughout history. We've seen that while Confucian thought has been influential, it has not been without its critics and controversies. As we close this chapter, consider the importance of critique and debate in the development of ideas. How do challenges and criticisms help us to refine and improve our beliefs and philosophies? How can we engage with opposing viewpoints in a way that is constructive and enlightening? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the legacy of Confucius, understanding how his teachings have adapted and evolved in the face of changing times and new challenges. Chapter 12. Confucianism in the Modern World. Welcome to Confucianism in the Modern World, a chapter where we consider the relevance and application of ancient wisdom in our contemporary global society. As the world changes, so too does the way we view and understand philosophical teachings. So, let's explore how Confucian principles are being interpreted and lived out today. Confucianism, with its deep roots in Chinese history and culture, might seem distant from the modern, fast-paced world we live in. Yet the principles of respect, harmony, and ethical living are as relevant now as they were in Confucius's time. In a world that's increasingly interconnected yet divided, the Confucian ideals of understanding and empathy can offer a path to better relationships and a more peaceful society. One of the most enduring aspects of Confucianism in the modern world is its emphasis on education and self-improvement. The Confucian idea that learning is a lifelong journey resonates in today's culture, which values personal growth and development. The focus on cultivating virtues and moral character is also reflected in modern discussions about ethics and leadership. In the realm of family, Confucian values continue to influence many societies. The respect for parents and elders and the emphasis on family harmony are principles that still guide the way many people interact with their loved ones. In a time when family structures are changing, these values can provide a sense of continuity and stability. In the business world, some have looked to Confucianism for guidance on ethical conduct and leadership. The Confucian ideals of honesty, integrity, and concern for the welfare of others can be seen as a counter to cultures of corruption and greed. The idea of the noble person who acts with righteousness and benevolence is a model for leaders who wish to inspire and uplift rather than dominate and control. However, applying Confucian principles in the modern world is not without challenges. The rapid pace of change, the diversity of cultures, and the complexity of global issues mean that there are no easy answers. Critics argue that some Confucian values, such as the rigid hierarchy and the emphasis on conformity, may be at odds with modern ideals of equality and individual freedom. Despite these challenges, there are those who believe that Confucianism can adapt and contribute to modern society. They argue that Confucianism is not a rigid set of rules, but a living philosophy that can evolve with the times. They point to the aspects of Confucian thought that emphasize adaptability, balance, and the continuous quest for wisdom. In recent years, there has been a resurgence of interest in Confucianism, both in China and around the world. This renewed interest is not just academic. It reflects a search for values and principles that can guide us in a complex and uncertain world. People are looking to Confucianism not for dogmatic answers, but for a way to think about ethics, leadership, and living a meaningful life. In this chapter, Confucianism in the Modern World, we have reflected on how the ancient teachings of Confucius are finding new expressions and applications today. We've considered the relevance of Confucian principles in education, family, business, and ethics, and we've discussed the challenges and opportunities of interpreting these teachings in a global context. As we close this chapter, think about the values and principles that guide your life. How do they resonate with or differ from Confucian ideals? In a world that's constantly changing, how do you find wisdom and direction? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the enduring legacy of Confucius and the timeless wisdom that he shared with the world. Chapter 13. Symbols and Rituals. In Symbols and Rituals, we turn our attention to the rich tapestry of symbols and ceremonies that embody Confucianism and express its deep-rooted values. These symbols and rituals are not just mere traditions, they are profound representations of the philosophy and ethics Confucius taught. One of the most recognizable symbols associated with Confucianism is the image of Confucius himself. Portraits of Confucius often depict him as a wise, elderly man, dressed in traditional robes, reflecting his status as a revered teacher and sage. These images remind people of his teachings and the virtues he lived by, such as wisdom, benevolence, and righteousness. Another important symbol is the Confucian temple, known as the Wen Miao. These temples are dedicated to the memory of Confucius and serve as places of respect and remembrance. Inside, there may be statues or portraits of Confucius and tablets bearing his teachings. The largest and most famous of these temples is the Temple of Confucius in Khufu, his birthplace. It's a complex of grand buildings and peaceful gardens, a testament to the lasting influence of his ideas. Rituals, or lai, are a central aspect of Confucianism. Confucius believed that rituals helped to maintain order and harmony in society and fostered a sense of respect and propriety among individuals. These rituals can range from simple acts of courtesy, like greeting someone politely, to elaborate ceremonies involving music, dance, and offerings. One of the most significant Confucian rituals is the ceremony of ancestor worship. Confucius taught that honoring one's ancestors was a way of showing xiao, or filial piety, and maintaining a connection with the past. During these ceremonies, family members gather to pay respects to their ancestors, offering food, incense, and recitations of their achievements and virtues. This ritual reinforces the importance of family and history in Confucian thought. Confucianism also places great importance on the rites of passage that mark the journey of life from birth to death. There are special ceremonies for naming a child, coming of age, marriage, and funerals. Each of these rituals is imbued with symbolism and meaning, reflecting the Confucian values of respect, propriety, and ethical living. Another important ritual is the Confucian Academy ceremony, where students and scholars gather to read and discuss the classics of Confucian literature. These ceremonies not only honor Confucius and other great teachers, but also emphasize the importance of learning and moral development. In addition to these, there are many other rituals and ceremonies associated with Confucianism, each with its own set of symbols and meanings. These rituals help to keep the teachings of Confucius alive, providing a bridge between the past and present and a guide for living a virtuous life. In this chapter, Symbols and Rituals, we have explored the various ways in which Confucianism is expressed and practiced. From the image of Confucius to the temples dedicated to his memory, from the simple acts of courtesy to the elaborate ceremonies of respect and remembrance, these symbols and rituals are a testament to the enduring impact of his teachings. As we close this chapter, consider the role of symbols and rituals in your own life. How do they reflect your values and beliefs? How do they connect you to your community and history? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the legacy of Confucius and the timeless wisdom that he shared with the world. Chapter 14. The Art of Governance. In The Art of Governance, we delve into the profound insights Confucius offered on leadership and the running of a state. His thoughts on these matters have not only shaped political philosophy in East Asia, but have also offered timeless wisdom that leaders around the world can learn from. Confucius lived in a time of political turmoil and social unrest. In response, he developed a vision of good governance that emphasized moral leadership, benevolence, and justice. He believed that for a society to be harmonious and prosperous, its leaders must be virtuous and ethical. This belief is at the core of Confucian political thought. One of Confucius's key ideas was the concept of the yunzi, or noble person. A yunzi is not noble by birth, but by behavior. Confucius described the yunzi as someone who always seeks to do what is right, who practices benevolence, who is wise, and who is respectful and humble. He believed that leaders should strive to be yunzi, setting a moral example that others could follow. Confucius also emphasized the importance of ren, or benevolence, in governance. He argued that a ruler should care for the people as a parent cares for their children. This doesn't mean ruling with a soft hand. It means governing with compassion and consideration for the well-being of all citizens. Confucius believed that when leaders act with ren, they create a peaceful and stable society. Another crucial aspect of Confucian governance is the concept of li, or ritual propriety. While li includes the rituals and ceremonies associated with Confucianism, it also refers to the set of behaviors and norms that govern social interactions. Confucius argued that when leaders observe li, they promote order and harmony. They show respect for tradition and the wisdom of the past, and they provide a model of proper conduct for the people. However, Confucius understood that good governance is not just about the character of the ruler. He also spoke about the importance of wise policies and institutions. He believed that laws and regulations should be fair and clear, that officials should be chosen for their ability and integrity, and that education should be available to all to cultivate a virtuous and capable citizenry. Despite the importance Confucius placed on ethical leadership, he was realistic about the nature of power. He knew that rulers could be corrupted and that even the best systems could fail. This is why he emphasized the need for constant self-improvement and vigilance. A good leader is always learning, always reflecting on their actions, and always striving to be better. The influence of Confucius's ideas on governance can be seen throughout history. His teachings shaped the imperial systems of China for centuries, influencing not just politics, but also culture, ethics, and society. Even today, his ideas continue to resonate, offering valuable insights for leaders and citizens alike. In this chapter, The Art of Governance, we have explored Confucius's vision of leadership and good governance. We've seen how his ideas emphasize moral character, benevolence, respect, and wise policies. His teachings remind us that good governance is not just about power and order. It's about creating a society where people can live with dignity and peace. As we close this chapter, consider the qualities that you think are important in a leader. How do the ideas of Confucius resonate with your views? How can we apply his wisdom to the challenges of governance in the modern world? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the enduring legacy of Confucius and the timeless wisdom that he shared with the world. Chapter 15. Ethical Living. In ethical living, we explore the heart of Confucianism, the pursuit of a moral and virtuous life. Confucius's teachings are not just abstract ideas, they are practical guidelines for living well and creating a society where everyone can thrive. This chapter delves into how Confucianism advocates for ethical living and the continuous development of one's moral character. At the core of Confucian ethics is the concept of ren, often translated as benevolence or humaneness. Ren is the quality of compassion and empathy for others. Confucius believed that this virtue is inherent in all people and can be cultivated through reflection and practice. Living ethically means constantly striving to express ren in every thought, word, and action. It's about considering the impact of your behavior on others and choosing kindness and understanding over selfishness and indifference. Another key aspect of ethical living, according to Confucianism, is li, or ritual propriety. Li encompasses the rituals and customs that structure daily life, but it's also about understanding and respecting the social roles and relationships that bind society together. By observing li, individuals show respect for others and for the traditions that maintain social harmony. Whether it's showing proper respect to elders, performing ceremonial duties, or simply greeting someone politely, li guides individuals to act in ways that promote order and harmony. Yai, or righteousness, is also crucial in Confucian ethics. Yai is about doing the right thing, even when it's difficult or when no one else is watching. It's about having a moral compass that guides you towards justice and away from corruption and wrongdoing. Confucius taught that a person of yi does not seek personal gain, but instead acts out of a genuine concern for the well-being of others and the good of society. Confucianism also emphasizes the importance of zi, or wisdom. Wisdom in this context is not just about having knowledge, it's about having the insight and understanding to apply that knowledge in the real world. It's about seeing the deeper truths of a situation and making decisions that are informed, thoughtful, and compassionate. Ji is what allows individuals to navigate the complexities of life and to live in a way that is ethical and just. One of the most powerful ideas in Confucianism is the belief in the perfectibility of human beings. Confucius taught that everyone has the capacity to become virtuous and wise, no matter their starting point. Ethical living is a journey, not a destination. It's about continuous self-improvement, learning from mistakes, and striving to be better each day. This journey is not solitary. Confucianism places great importance on community and relationships. Ethical living means not only developing your own character, but also helping others to do the same. It's about creating an environment where everyone is encouraged to grow and thrive, where people support and learn from each other. In the modern world, where we often face complex ethical dilemmas and social pressures that can lead to unethical behavior, Confucianism offers a compass to guide us. It reminds us of the importance of compassion, respect, righteousness, and wisdom. It teaches us that living ethically is not about following a set of rules, but about continually striving to be the best version of ourselves and to create a world where everyone can live with dignity and peace. In this chapter, Ethical Living, we have explored how Confucianism advocates for a life of virtue and moral development. We've seen the key concepts of Ren, Li, Yi, and Ji, and how they guide individuals toward ethical living. As we close this chapter, reflect on your own journey towards ethical living. How do the principles of Confucianism resonate with your values? How can you apply these ideas to your daily life and the choices you make? Join us in the next chapter as we continue to explore the enduring legacy of Confucius and the timeless wisdom that he shared with the world. Chapter 16. The Enduring Wisdom. In The Enduring Wisdom, we reflect on the lasting impact of Confucius and how his teachings continue to inspire and influence individuals and societies around the world. As we conclude this journey, let's contemplate the timeless nature of his wisdom and its relevance in our modern world. Confucius lived over 2,000 years ago, yet his teachings remain vibrantly alive. They have traversed centuries and borders, influencing countless lives and cultures. His thoughts on ethics, leadership, and social harmony offer a beacon of wisdom that continues to guide us through the complexities of modern life. One of the most remarkable aspects of Confucian wisdom is its enduring relevance. The principles of benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom are not bound by time or culture. They speak to the universal human condition, addressing our deepest questions and challenges. In a world that is rapidly changing and often confusing, Confucius's teachings offer a moral compass, helping us navigate the right path in our personal lives and in our interactions with others. Confucius's influence extends beyond individual ethics. It shapes the way societies and governments think about leadership and governance. The ideal of the noble person who leads by moral example and the emphasis on harmony and stability are principles that continue to resonate in political and social thought. In a world fraught with conflict and division, the Confucian vision of a just and harmonious society remains a powerful aspiration. The enduring wisdom of Confucius is not just a set of doctrines to be followed, but a living tradition that evolves and adapts. Over the centuries, scholars and thinkers have interpreted and reinterpreted his teachings, applying them to new contexts and challenges. This dynamic and adaptive nature of Confucianism is one of the reasons it continues to be relevant and influential. As we reflect on the enduring wisdom of Confucius, it's important to remember that his teachings are not just about understanding the world, but about changing it. Confucius believed in the perfectibility of human beings and the possibility of creating a better society. His teachings challenge us to look within, to cultivate our virtues, and to act with integrity and compassion. They inspire us to improve ourselves and the world around us. As you continue on your own journey of learning and growth, remember that the wisdom of Confucius is a resource you can always turn to. His insights into human nature, ethics, and the art of living can guide you, inspire you, and help you navigate the complexities of life. For those interested in learning English through stories and exploring the teachings of Confucius further, You can download this ebook in PDF format from our website, WooEnglish.com. At WooEnglish, we believe in the power of stories to inspire and educate, and we are committed to providing resources that help you learn and grow. In this chapter, The Enduring Wisdom, we have contemplated the lasting impact of Confucius's teachings and their continued relevance in our lives and our world. As we conclude this journey, let's carry forward the wisdom of Confucius, letting it enlighten our path and guide our actions. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and teachings of Confucius. May his wisdom continue to inspire and guide you in your quest for knowledge and a virtuous life.